The best way to make a buildup is to take a synth that's in your track and tweak it to do something that grows and becomes a climax. That's the track we're gonna listen to. Hans, hey, listening, thanks. Parrish, and we got Ben Spencer. I just started the stream. Let me make sure this is coming up, because there it goes. The best way to make a buildup. Okay, so you hear me say this in track feedback all the time. We listen to tracks, and it's very common for people to put a white noise riser and a reversed cymbal crash that goes whoosh and arrives at the drop, which is awesome. Those are great, and they work all the time. And I think of those like the salt and pepper, you know, on your food. When you go to a restaurant, there's gonna be salt and pepper on the table, but that's not what you go there for. You don't go to buy like, hey, let's go out and get some salt and pepper. You know, you go to get the food that's unique at that restaurant. And in your music, the unique thing that makes it really stick out, that makes people wanna play your track again, is the climax. Even if you're making ambient or down tempo or chill out or whatever, there's gonna be some kind of an emotional peak where the sounds grow and do something that's interesting, and then hopefully you drop a beat after that. So today I just wanna show you some clip automation techniques where I take a synth and tweak a whole bunch of stuff to create the feeling of a buildup that's exciting and interesting. So that's pretty much what it's all about. And at the end, I actually made a project file. I made a live pack of this project that if anybody wants to download it who's using Live 11, we could do that. So here we are in full screen. Put my levels up. Give me a quick yes sound if you can hear the sound at the right level, because I'm gonna close my meters and not keep it running. And let me just check my monitor level. Yeah. Addicted to dropping GIFs, rolling my sleeves up. Okay, so the cool thing I'm doing here is this is one of my own tracks that I'm working on for a real piece of production. So I'm showing you something that I really do. This is not just a lesson of like how to use a filter. It's actually something I'm working on. And the main beat sounds like this. Okay, Parrish, Hans, thank you for the yes. I'm pretty sure it sounds good, but I like to have the chat contact and stuff. So here's basically the skeleton of the track is like this. We got some sends over there. One thing I like to do in production is if I'm not actively using the returns, sometimes I want to turn them all off just to make sure I know what I'm hearing. So we got the kick drum and the sub over here. Drum beats over there. And then some synth layers. Let me play through the end result of what we're gonna do, and then I'll go through and show you how we do it in detail. If you have any questions, type them in, and I'll be checking the chat right over there to watch and listen. So here we have 4 scenes, and I compose in Session View a lot. We're gonna do a workshop on composition and arrangement and how we get from Session View into the arrangement. Gem X, what's up? So here we are over on the start to build up. Watch what happens. Counting in my head. 3, 2, 4. Watch this countdown timer. And now we're listening to this sound. Okay, so that might not be the absolute most epic buildup you ever heard in your entire life. I realize there's a lot of other things you can do. But if you listen to what happens, it starts off as this jingly bell sound. The sound, something about it grows. It takes on a left and right change. Something about it speeds up. And then at the drop, it goes into, like it kind of echoes and disappears, and we go straight into the beats. A great technique for making a big drop is simplifying it, stripping stuff out. So when the beat hits, it's like kick drum, bass line, beats, and then nothing else. And it's like, whoa, it hits you really hard. Then as you go on, you can add in other layers. So let's go and look at, give me a yes if you heard that and you get the concept of the climax, because that's important. And actually, we heard something happening in this bassline channel too. So what we're gonna do is automate stuff in Session View. When I'm working on a track, let's say I have this one scene right here, right? And I'm playing this. The starting position for me, like when I'm just fooling around the studio, is I'll go to the instrument and I'll grab something in one of the parameters. This is a Collision instrument, and I'll just find something to tweak and play with it and kind of have a jam, you know, because on original hardware, like the way you make a buildup is pretty much take your low pass filter and your resonance, wait for the right moment, crank them down, turn up the resonance, crank it back up, and make a build up by hand on the hardware at the show in the mix. Because when we were making electronic music with hardware, you had a drum machine and a synth, and like you had to make everything happen by hand. So now what we're doing is kind of recreating that live experience by using automation to have the filters and stuff move all around. So the rest of this workshop, I'm basically going to show you what I did and how I did it to make it sound cool. So in this project, here is a section called Automation on the jingle track. That's collision instrument, auto filter, auto pan, and then a channel strip of mix tools afterwards. Now, the first thing I did to make this an interesting sound was I went to the layers. There's Resonator 1 and 2. Let's stop everything else. I want to introduce you to, basic sound design is you want width, right? But maybe you don't want to slap on a stereo widening plugin later and get phase problems. What can you do inside the sound to get some width? Well, if you have layers in the sound, you can take your layers and pan them to different directions. So I did some of that with the two resonators panned left and right, almost imitating a piano where the bass is on the left and the treble is on the right-hand side. So that was the first thing I did. And you can even hear that's kind of changing. Now what I'm going to do is play through this climax clip. So, and I hope people know the word clip is like one of these little, boxes with a play button on it, right? That's a MIDI clip. So here's some MIDI notes, and we're going to look at the envelopes and stuff. Now I'm just going to play through this clip without the rest of the track. It's going to go 16 bars, and watch what is changing in here. You can see the timer about 30 seconds. So in the song, we're going to have about a 30-second buildup that comes wherever in the track. So brightness is moving. The other resonator, decay time's moving. I believe the auto filter and pan went up. What else is changing? Oh, auto pan rate. Noise volume. And then something's going on in the delay. Let's do that one more time. Watch the delay send on C. Forgot to turn my phone off. That stereo field is coming in. Send to C is going up. And there at 17 bars, the clip stops. It's not a looping clip. It plays 16 bars and stops. At the end of the clip, the delay is up. So the sound goes into a delay, and when the beat drops, the synth is echoing on top of the beat, but it's not continuing. So we get that feeling of a big empty drop, but there's a transition where you get from the buildup into the drop with a bridge where the sound is kind of washing across the drop line, if you call it that. So these are the things I did. Now let's look at how to do it. Say something if you if you understand where I'm at with making multiple layers of automation. I like a lot of feedback to make sure. I'm not sure what level of production people are at. I know Ben Spencer, you could teach this workshop and you'd totally get it. But I want to make sure that I'm saying stuff at the level for people who are working with live, with session view, with clips, with automation, and with modulating synths. Because if I'm talking about stuff that sounds like it's, like in Greek or something, I don't want to be confusing. So just give me like a little note on like, yes, okay, or something like that. How do you do clip automation? Well, like I said at the beginning, first I play the clip, I find some parameters on push, and I just tweak knobs to hear what sounds good, especially with Collision. This is kind of a complicated instrument, and it's not totally clear what sounds are going to sound good. So I might go in and just play with stuff and find something that's gonna sound cool. And once I do that, I'm ready to start automating. Now, I'm gonna do a little bit of a computer programmer trick here. One thing you should do is make a backup clip. This one's called Reset. And that's how to get back to normal, because when you're tweaking synths, it's possible to go so far into modulator land that you can't get back to the original sound, and then the whole rest of the track, it's like, shit, where's my keyboard, and that's like really bad. So you don't, especially with pitch shift, like the pitch knob, pitch wheel, if you don't reset your pitch wheel, you could have your whole sound in a different key, and it could be really bad. So I make a clip called Reset that's just a fresh copy that I can always get back to reset the sound before I go in and tweak stuff. Now, I'll show you how to find the automation layers. So you click the clip and do Shift Tab to get into clip view. And now I'm in Live 11. This might look different if you're in 9 or 10. And the notes are like that, you know. You click on the little note icons, but the automation, there's a little thing with like breakpoints and lines. We're at the step of show adjusted envelopes. And like I said before, you'll be able to download this project later if you want to. I like to do only show adjusted envelopes. And look at that. Every place with a red dot is something that I tweaked to make the sound develop. Reset to see in action. Yeah. Good, 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 good. You want to get into which functions to combine into one macro knob. Okay, that's a good question. I might not get to that right away, but that's a really good question. So the first thing I want to get to here in this list of parameters is just the basic things you can modulate in any synth. So you don't have to use Collision. You don't have to use this exact instrument. When you're making a build-up, there's a couple elements that you're going to hear happening. Number one, it gets louder. So in the volume automation, you're going to see it stays the same, and then in the last 4 bars, volume goes up. Okay, so creating a transition, creating volume, it goes up. Mallet stiffness, noise amount, those things are tone that are related to the actual instrument. Noise volume, so there's a noise layer in the synth. And if you're using the Ableton instrument called analog or operator or a hardware synth, there's usually a noise layer that's like a third oscillator that's just going kshk. And I don't want that in all the time, but I wanted to raise the volume on that one. Let's see if I can just demonstrate what that sounds like. So here's our original. Okay, so it gets scratchy, and then you can choose the frequency and envelopes and stuff like that. So as we're getting louder in the transition, it gets scratchier, which is going to feel like a little dirty and distorted and kind of pull it toward the front of the mix and grab your ears. A lot of high frequency sounds have some crunch in them that makes them literally cut through the mix in a really nice way. Like a snare drum literally has that in there. Yeah, the combinations are endless for sure. And we also have noise volume, noise filter frequency. Okay, I had that go up so that the scratchiness changes and makes a different sound. I'm not sure if I should demonstrate each one of these. So in general, if something is going up in pitch, emotionally we feel the feeling of a riser going up. So a raising volume, going up in pitch, adding a scratchy noise layer to get your attention. And noise filter frequency and resonance, okay, that's pretty standard to change the filter frequency is similar to going up in pitch. This time I took the resonance down because with that exact sound, it was like ear piercing and a little too much. Now, Resonator 1 decay time. This was kind of cool. This is... And I know I've said this in track feedback. If you want to create a transition sound, go to your note length, make the notes longer and longer as you approach the transition, or go to your ADSR amp envelope and make the amp release time longer and longer. So the sound, you just get more of the sound. Instead of a short, choppy sound, you get more of the sound. And that one, joink. Material and brightness are specific to Collision. Those are, oh, I'm in the original clip. Derp. Those are tonal things about the Collision synth. So whatever you have for your tone capabilities in a sound, you want to modulate those. And you can see the materials going up. Things in general are going up in harmonics. Resonator 2 Decay. These were super fun. The Decay thing, I want to play with this and make a whole other song section at the end of the track where it comes down short like that and gets like in that ending bass and drums groove. Really crisp. It's like getting a super short haircut. You're like cut it back down. And then when you want to create a transition, you lengthen it up again. And if you stop the clip there, you get a really long tail that you could probably sidechain that and get whoa, 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 do some creative sound design sidechaining. I don't want to take all day talking about every single specific thing. So all this stuff that says octave string is basically sound design parameters in your synth. So whatever synth you're working with, start by playing with it, have some fun, tweak some knobs, pay attention to what sounds good, and then you can start automating them. And we're going to go into the automations and stuff. Also, we have auto filter and auto pan. So the basic controls we're doing are turn the device on, because I don't want it on during the whole track, only during the buildup. then the LFO amount is going up and the sync rate is speeding up. So one more time, now that you know kind of what those parameters were, let's just watch all these things happen. Here's our original sound. And right away, the filter and pan auto filter and auto pan kicked on, got a little more mid-rangey. The sound is shorter because we're getting ready to open it up and make it go longer. So the decay is getting longer. It's moving left to right. It's getting kind of tonally changing a little bit in a cool way. And here comes that noise layer. And then the last thing I did, of course, was sending it up into the mixer delay. A really important thing about automating clips is defining where is the automation. So MIDI controls are like hardware things that are part of your actual outboard synth or built into a software synth. These are the classic ones that go back to the 80s. You know, volume is 7, 10 is pan, 64 is the foot pedal. If you ever have a MIDI note stuck that keeps playing and it will not stop, go in here and look at controller 64 and turn it off. Put in a 0 because that might be stuck in there. So I like to work with clip automation. These things are specific to this actual clip, so you can copy this clip, paste it somewhere else, and the automation is going to come with it. And then the mixer automation is stuff that the clip is going to control what's happening in the Ableton mixer. So you can turn the speaker on and off with, you know, like the on-off thing. And look at this little red line right here. This is what's fun about doing automation. As you touch a control, you can see the automation line coming in and out. I'm going up and down with the volume. That red line's going up and down. So that gives you a nice way to see the automation lane as you're working with it. And if I want to actually create some clip automation, all kinds of ways to do it. You can double click, create breakpoints like that. You can tap the note B to get the pencil and draw in some lines, whatever you want to do. And remember, when you're working with pencil tool, here's a quick way to get a curve. Draw a box like that, undo one of the points, grab the line, hold Option and drag to get a modulated curve. And then if you make a mistake and you don't like it, you go, clear envelope. Cool, no questions. I'm assuming everybody's cool with what we're doing. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hanging out on Friday. By the way, track feedback tomorrow. But what's a little more fun than that is I'll start with this on the mouse and then talk about push. You know, we've been talking about tweaking things and using controllers and making the music feel like it's a hands-on thing, like a person's tweaking knobs in the mix. That's what makes music exciting, is when you're listening, and the average person in the crowd, they don't care about modulators, they don't know, whatever. They want to hear it and feel it and make it and be like, I'm at a show. So it's fun to record automation by hand, not by thinking and making breakpoints and analyzing curves and stuff. You can do that, but so you turn on the automation arm and the session record switch. I like to do this with the record parameters of recording session automation in armed tracks, no count in so it doesn't get annoying. And this will make it just kind of easy to add some layers. So we're going to go into our climax thing. Let's say I want to record a couple of these mixer automations, right? So I've got the session record switch on to record into the clip. That's going to record automation. Arm the track, play the clip. I'm just moving my wrist up and down on the mouse pad. And you get to have the immense satisfaction of seeing a really cool, organic, human-feeling automation curve come into your volume. So when you play this in your build-up, you got it going on. And remember these switches up top. Let's get the exact names. Automation arm, so that manual parameter changes get recorded into the clips in session view. And then the session record button to overdub and put the information into the clips. Let's undo that because I don't want to leave all those things. And then if you want to do the same thing with push, hands going down here, there is the automate button on the bottom left to turn on the automation arm switch and the record button. And what I might want to do is select that track. I'm going to hold down record and record arm. Hold down the track button first and then record arm. And now I'm going to go to the mix window, grab the volume control for that track. Hit record. Count in. And now I'm using this with a knob on push. And you can record in Automation directly. And you can do this as much as you want to get into push with selecting tracks, arming clips, recording Automation. It's up to you to go wild and do some live mixing on your controller if you want to get into it at that deep of a level. I just saw a question come through. Let me check that, what that was. Clear envelope. Hans, when you say push, would you mean any pad surface like Launchpad, etc.? Yeah, push specific features are like, I have a button that says the word automate on it, which I'm pressing right now to turn on and off this automation switch. That doesn't really matter so much. What you need is a controller with MIDI knobs that you can do Command M, turn the screen blue, click on a knob you want to map, like send A over here, whatever. As long as you can get some MIDI control knobs recognized in live, you can record Automation through them and have some fun doing hands-on stuff. So it doesn't matter what your controller is. That's a good question. And then push is just specific for having Ableton focused, record, select, arm, all that kind of stuff. So up until now, I'm going to go, I wrote a lesson plan that's in the master channel over here, which is super fun for me. This is what I use to turn into a session lesson. Session lessons are guided tutorials built inside Live, where instead of watching me on video, there's a little track on the side that says instructions, and you press play and hear me talk inside the session, and then you go through and do activities and stuff. So I kind of do the lesson plan. We talked about what the instrument is, creating stereo width with left-right layers. So anytime you have a synth with multiple layers, start by panning them apart a little bit to get stereo width for free without needing to put any other weird plugins on afterwards. It's the best place to get stereo width. We looked at the list of adjusted envelopes. What kinds of things create the feeling of transition? So this is basic stuff I would like you to use in any synth, right? Volume is always going to work. Filter frequency going from low to high is always going to work. Having high resonance is always going to work. In the Resonator, so specific to the tone of the Collision instrument, we shortened the notes and then lengthened them again. But anytime you can do that with amp release time or MIDI note length, that works. We added the noise layer, which is an oscillator inside the synth that was turned down. And then as the transition happened, the buildup, the noise layer got louder. And the frequency of that white noise went whoosh, a little bit up, which is kind of what people do when they build white noise risers. But I'm trying to get you to do that yourself inside your synths instead of just copying, like, you know, riser number 27 out of some pack or something like that. And then last we did mixer automation with the clip to get the send knobs like a magic robot turning up the delay at the perfect time. And think about that. We had literally 18 automations happening in the clip. Like, I don't know who has 16 friends to come over and tweak all the other knobs. And sometimes you could be honest and that you're doing controllers where you have like your pinky on one knob or you're tweaking another one and like doing your thumb on the piano note and stuff. And you can get creative, but there's no way you can do all these modulations at the same time by hand in a track, like in a performance. That was a really good question about mapping multiple controls to one knob. I do that a lot. In this instrument, I actually, no macros, bro. But sometimes what I do is I'll map a control knob to have the power switch for a device and then the filter frequency or something. So when I turn the knob all the way down, the device is bypassed. And then as soon as I turn the knob on, the plugin activates and the filter comes in. So it's usable when I want it and the rest of the time it's out of the way. And then you can also control like resonance at the same time. That's a fun thing to do. But we should do a whole other workshop on that. So we did the technique of overdubbing automation, which is how you create these sections. So again, from the beginning of the track, I'm up here. There's my original clip. I want to do a little bit of automation. I turn that on. I want to turn on my record arm switch. This clip's ready to go. Throw a little bit of a And that's a fun little dub technique, is you turn up the send, put the sound into a delay, and then mute the channel. So when you unmute it, a blast of sound goes into the delay, and the rest of the time you hear just the delay. to solo that in place. So that's how easy it can be when you're playing. Let's say this main loop, if that's the whole part of your song, you start, make a beat, a bass line, a synth. You have one scene with your clips. Then you can start automating right away to get things that are going to turn into a transition. GemX starting to save default presets into audio and MIDI tracks so I don't have to open them up and go to devices in each time. Yeah, that's a really good thing to do. Saving presets is always fun. The macro trick would do great on those so you don't have to worry about turning a device on or off. Absolutely agree. And let me undo, oh my God, every breakpoint. Oh, what else is automated on here? I don't know what, I have problem solving. If you don't know what is automated in the clip, sometimes you hear stuff that goes crazy and you don't know what it is. So I want to show all envelopes or automated envelopes in that clip. And then whichever ones you don't want like that, hit the pencil tool, drag down, erase. These are all kind of workflow hacks I'm hoping are going to be useful. And that was our reset clip. So we, in our, what time is it? 12:30, good. Trying to keep this on time for less than an hour. We did the overdub automation with the automation arm button and the session record button, arming track. Preference for recording armed tracks. That's where you go to your preferences, go down into record, warp, and launch. I like to record session automation into only the armed tracks when I'm doing kind of a creation thing. If you want to have a live set and literally record everything you touch, you set this to all tracks, and then whatever you do while you're playing, it's going to get recorded. And that can be really cool to get a live performance with all of the tweaks and volume and mute and delay. Everything that you do as your live performance can be recorded, and then you can still save that and go back at the end and do your detail mixing to make something that's has the feel of a live set with the album quality mix of a finished mix. And that is really, really a great way to create. If you make, we'll do this more in a song structure workshop, but you make scenes in the master, in session view for all the different parts of your song. And then you can just go through the scenes, play them, tweak knobs, record the automation, and do your final mix later. And that's a really good way to get an organic blend of music that feels alive, like somebody's tweaking it, but it's also polished, and you got your limiters and your sidechaining and everything in there to make the mix come out right. So overdubbing with push, arrangement automation. Oh my goodness. Eventually this is going to end up in the arrangement. And that can be a good way to get an overview of what's going on. So here is just that one climax clip, 17 bars. And the question is, oh, where's my automation? I'm in Live 11, right? Well, I hit the A key, open up automation. Where's my automation? I don't know. I don't see anything. Oh, well, you got to expand the automation lanes with this little triangle over here. I don't think that has a name, does that? Toggle additional automation lanes. You click that, and you get a view of everything. And like I said, those were 19 automation lanes. You can see the mixer delays going up and everything. Now, those were not there from the very beginning. Let's say I record some speaker automation. Okay, now there's an automation lane for speaker. What you do is hit this little plus sign and add that down underneath. And now if I want to record yet another automation lane with, the mixer volume, there's a new automation lane in the arrangement. And again, I'll hit the plus sign so I can add it down underneath. And before this workshop, I went down and hit the plus sign and selected every single lane of automation to show you that this is where you find them. And if you're doing a multi-layered, super modulated clip, like you want to sometimes get an overview of where is everything, which one is sounding wrong, which one do I want to delete, which one needs more. This is a really nice way to get a look at all of them. I realize it looks like a big bunch of red lines and stuff, but if you follow logically step by step, you think we have a synth, it has parameters, we're modulating parameters, we know how to find the parameters, now we can see them in the arrangement, now we can get our pencil tool on hand to grab them. And it gives you a way to control your mix and identify how to get the sound you want or how to stop the sound you don't want, which is what sound design is all about. And when you have that level of control, you don't get frustrated. Ben, thank you. Yeah, you can use B and switch back and forth the pencil tool. Oh, you can hold down B. Wait a minute. B is for Ben Spencer rocking me in this video. I want to erase my pencil tool. I'm going to hold down B temporarily. No way. I never did that. Damn. Clear envelope and speaker on. Let's erase that one so I don't have my sound get muted on me. And now that I have no automation in the track volume or mute switch, speaker on button, I can hit the little minus sign and remove those lanes out of our automation view. And to keep it compact, let's show automated parameters only. And that way you can get a look at all your automation lanes, which you do not want to see all the time. So you fold them up and move on to your next instrument, which is the bass sound. Let's see, what did we do with the bass? I don't know if you noticed, but the synth, the bells lead thing was doing something. The bass line was always also doing something. Let's compare our starting bass line. Gives me a secret minute to drink some coffee. Okay, pitch bend. Now I heard a pitch bend. I want to see it. Oh, MIDI control. Oh, pitch bend. Okay. Looks like that's happening every 4 bars. And I would call that a composition device. That's not really, it is a modulator, but it's there for the purpose of kind of like, I'm not going to say music theory, but if you were writing a bass line, the do 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 do, you know, you have 2 different notes or whatever. This time I used a pitch bend, kind of like a portamento glide to go between 2 notes. Whatever. The point is that automation is in the basic clip idea, and it's not part of the transition. It's not part of the build-up. It's going to happen all the way through the song. That's our basic starting point. Now let's look at what we did in this bass line. Joink. And like I was saying with the arrangement view, you can open up your automation lanes. You can choose to view only automated parameters. And this one's a little more sensible. There's only filter cutoff, resonance, and release time. Let's listen to what happens with that. So we got our filter frequency going up and down. Resonance is not moving a whole lot. And in my imagination, I was going for the sound of a propeller airplane, like a small airplane with a propeller flying by at low altitude, like at an airport. It was, to me, that was like a nice image. And properly, this sound should probably have some pan position to really go vroom. But most of all, what I like is that the release time is getting longer. So maybe if I just, let's just bypass the filters for a second. Analog resonance. Right. Here's the sound. Okay. Without the filters, that's a really short release time. If we bring that down with a dull filter, low cutoff filter, low pass filter at a low frequency, short release time, low resonance, it's muffled, it's ready to grow, it's at like a kind of down, like literally like dook dook dook. And then when you bring the cutoff frequency up, start bringing the resonance up, then modulators, please. You know, filters sound best when they're moving, right? So when you're building your filter up, you can also take your release time longer, right? Because when it's long like that and the filter is cut down, it sounds kind of mushy and like, but when you do them together, and while you're tweaking to find out what to do with the sound, you find the right moment. Like obviously that, I mean, that's way too long. So you find the end points of where you want your automations to happen. Something like that. Just explore, fool around, have fun, play with your synths, see what they can do and see what they sound like. And that could be 5 hours of fun. And when you find some parameters that you like, then you can go in and just like we did recording in clips in session view, you can hit your automation arm and record. and go through and record your parameters right into the arrangement. So when you're building a track and you have your whole 6 minutes or something in the arrangement already, you can just overdub your automation right in there, open up the lanes, watch what is happening so that if you have something that's really, like if, let's say your pan is going right and left and you want to track your filter frequency to go with the pan position, sometimes it's cool to see the exact automation lane and track it with the other controller so you get that complex multi-layered sound of many things moving together. Good Mocha, yeah. Many things moving together and giving you that complex evolving sound that stacks up with other sounds to create the buildup during your transition moments to lead you to a drop. So give me a yes if you're with me so far on that. We're talking about automation in the arrangement. We looked at arrangement overdubs, expanding automation lanes, the A key map. Ooh, I'm gonna put in here, hold down B. Ben Spencer, that was a hot tip. I didn't know that you can hold down the B key to draw temporarily and then let go of it. That, gotta read the manual again. So we did automation in the bass synth, looking at stuff that can move around. So in this bass clip, one really important thing to be aware of is linked and unlinked envelopes. All right, so the basic, this is an 8-bar loop, but let's say we have that 32 bars of transition moment. I want to have a long 32-bar buildup. If I try to record automation within this 8-bar loop, it's just going to overwrite, and then you can only get 8 bars of automation. Can you show how to edit the automation in terms of moving it in the timeline? Moving it in the timeline in session view? I'm not sure I understand the question. Moving the automation in the timeline in session view. I think so. Okay. So filter cutoff. Let's say I wanted a very specific filter thing that's going like this, except I want it to happen all the time at the end of the track. I'm not sure this is what you mean, but you can select like this, do copy, cursor, paste. Is that what you mean? Or if I have these two and they're in the wrong place and they want to start at 113, I can copy here, paste to 113, and do like one of those. Is that what you mean by moving automation in the timeline? To put it forward or back? Not totally positive what that question was, but you can definitely copy and paste automation, and you can do the same thing in the arrangement. Make sure your lock envelopes. I like to get the exact term to make sure that that's on there. So if your envelopes are locked, you know, if you want to copy and paste your clip. Oh, I didn't get the automation. Why not? Because the envelopes are locked. So you unlock your envelope, copy clip, move in the arrangement, paste, and the automation comes with it. So lock envelopes is a very important little feature to know about when you're playing around with arrangement timeline stuff. Let me know if that answered your question about the automation following or being somewhere else. So back to the bass synth, adjusted envelopes. We did pitch bend as part of the sound, as part of like the note structure or the note pattern, you know, what the bass line is doing. And then filter and resonance moving together, release time, getting towards opening up the sound. The technique for the long jam, I was talking about envelopes. Let me just erase that. How did I get this? How did I get a 97-bar automation lane with an 8-bar loop, right? You can see the cursor's playing through here. When we look at the notes, okay, it's gonna loop around after 8 bars. And when I go to automation, oh, the notes looped, but the automation is still continuing. The answer is unlinked loop. This switch is so amazing because it allows you to record an hour of automation on top of an 8-bar loop and never overwrite your automation. It's so cool. You can do it in audio clips too. Live allows you to have a loop that gets modulated in a duration of time that's longer than the loop itself, which is super genius. So when I was creating this jam, the clip is even called filter-based jam. I got the bass sound. I assigned controllers on filter, resonance, and amp envelope release time, and I decided those 3 parameters are the ones I'm going to tweak to work with this bass sound during the mix. And then I just had a jam. I put the beat loop on, tweaked the knobs, recorded the automation, let it play for however 3-4 minutes, however long that is. And at the end of it, I had a nice long section of automated sound that I could clip out a section to get 32 bars of the automation I wanted to line up with the 32 bar loop over there. So the technique is record a long jam, record your automation, record all the automation lanes at once, and have the unlocked automation lane envelopes, automation envelopes. Technically, that is called link, unlink, envelope. Yeah. So you unlink the envelope so that you can have a longer period of automation on top of a short loop of sound. And then you cut to 32 bars to get your buildup. Like I said at the beginning, you want to have a backup clip that gets you back to the original sound. That just means it's going to reset my filters and release time and everything. So my basic normal starting sound, when I want to go back and like work on the composition and the arrangement, I can get back to here and have my basic starting baseline sound without it all tweaked out with resonance and filters and pan position and everything changed and not knowing where your starting position is. A little wobble, yeah. Okay, Ben, I'm gonna read this tip. A cool thing you can use is clip modulation rather than automation. So automation values are absolute. They go from one to the end of the loop to the other. Modulation works as a % of the knob value. Yeah, that's right. Modulation within it. Automation with modulation and position. How does longer automation get put into the timeline? You can record it directly in. And you can also, I can take this filter-based jam clip and let's go out to like 225. So here we can see that the MIDI clip is looping, but when we look at the automation, that long sweep is all right there. That's a really good way to illustrate the difference between the 8-bar loop, which is happening at chunks like that, and then the automation lanes within it that you can still select and see. Ben, help me out. How do you show, where do you record modulation rather than straight automation lanes? Because I know I have seen that with something in a clip changing, but I'm not sure I remember that exactly. I'll have to check on that. I know I've done that and seen it before, but I don't remember right at this moment where you go to modulate. So if there's a value from like 0 to 127 or something, the modulator goes up and down a percentage of it. So that's on me to look that up and remember that part. What was I saying? Backing up clips and 1245, okay. And then what we end up with is, I played this at the beginning. I'm gonna play through this again. Let's listen to what happens with the jingle lead happening, automation happening, the baseline automation happening. We're gonna go in through a section of music. Counting in my head. And I labeled these scenes like kick drum mute. We're still approaching. So big empty drop, kick, sub bass, beats. And then after this, the next scene, we're going to add in the original bass line and a new melody line. So what I'm doing now is getting into the song composition. So I have a build up here, kick drum drops out, drums drop out. We wait, main drop, wait 8 bars, add the melody, wait 8 bars, add back in something else. And I really do build most of my song in session view in scenes where each scene has something coming out and coming in and coming out, so that if I want to do a live performance, I can launch the scenes in order and have the track come out over time and adapt how long do I make it. You know, like return to a beginning section or loop something longer or whatever. And when I'm ready to make the release, you know, the album version or the final version, you basically just hit the arrangement record button, play through your scenes from start to finish. Everything gets recorded into the arrangement, and then you end up with your track from start to finish where you can do your final automation, make your mix, export a 2-track version. All right, Ben, good. In the clip, there's 2 buttons. Get into some follow stuff for automation. Yeah. Automation and modulation. Yep, that's where it is right there. So let's look at, okay, automating in here. Now, the automation is showing us these adjusted envelopes, right? Modulation is an amount that relates to how much of a setting is happening. Where do you find which one you're modulating? Instrument rack autopan amount. Volume modulation, okay. And I selected instrument rack octave string volume, the main volume of the instrument, which is here. You see that little blue line, how that went up from... that means I want the volume to be at like -4 dB as the ultimate setting, and the modulator goes from 0 up to that amount and down by using that envelope. So this is really useful. Like when I was playing with the release time of the bass line, and I said, hey, there's that one point where it's way too long on the bass line release sound. Modulation is a good way where you can define how long is too long and set kind of the endpoint for that. So here's our amp section. Here's our release time in the automation lane. Show all envelopes gone. Release time, okay? Let's say the baseline setting is going to be like 2 seconds. And then when you're modulating that, that's really long, right? It's like longer than we want. So to work with that, we select that parameter, release time, right here. Let's take that down a little bit shorter. So that means when the clip is just playing, the release time is going to be at that level. Now I can go to modulate that, and I'm going to change it with my pencil tool on B. So now we have kind of a sine wave pattern, a very ugly sine wave pattern of that release time is going to stay at that 7-second level. And it's reacting to the modulation, but it's staying within that limit of like the overall level that it could be at. I don't know if that's such a great explanation. Clear envelope. It might be better to explain it with the filter sweep. Like if you're using a low-pass filter, when it gets too low, the sound is completely disappeared and you don't want it to go down that low. What you can do is set the filter to stay at a low place, like, I don't know, 250 hertz or something, and then modulate it to go up and down and always come back to that baseline setting. So you're not actually changing the position of the filter on the automation. You're like leaving the automation where it is and modulating how much that automation is moving. Or if you wanted to have a pan position, instead of moving the pan position, you could set it to the left. So it's like that sound is always on the left a little bit. And then once in a while, have it like oscillate slightly around that position. So the bass line is in the center and it's like wobbling, like Ben said, around there. So how is that different from using automation? Let's say that automation goes on a wider range and the modulation envelopes stay within a more narrow range surrounding the baseline setting. If you think about a knob having a home base, like a baseline that you want it to return to, then modulation lets you move towards that and away from that and come back to it without messing up your baseline setting. That might be a good way to say it. It is kind of a subtle thing. You guys are talking about follow actions now? You can use follow, different automation on the clips, same kind of cool combos. Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to get super deep into follow actions and other stuff. This is, oh, Ben Spencer, thanks, man. Thanks for the B tip and bringing up the modulation thing. You stretched me a little farther than I was ready to go, but you're totally on time with these tips, and that's super valuable stuff. So, and GemX, these are great questions. We can talk about follow actions to have, different clips with different automation settings. So when you fire the different clips, you get different parameters, and you can even do fun stuff like having clips in, dummy clips in your bus groups where there is no sound in the clip, but you can have the effects changing inside a group of sounds, like filter sweeps or something like that. But it is getting close to 1 o'clock. I want to get finished with this before an hour. So we looked at how to do automation within clips to create buildups and arrive at a big empty drop. Next week, what we're going to do is get into building song sections using different clips with some follow actions, possibly in different automation, to build out the length of the track, starting from session view, going through buildups, peaks and drops, recording into the arrangement, and ending up with a piece of music that's ready to mix. So thanks for hanging out. Thanks for hanging out. I want to point out, next week, Legato launching, all these kinds of things. If you need some help with your Ableton production, I want to point to courses.mixatexture.com, which is the Mixatexture member site where you can find this stuff. And I just added a new option where you can get this project file. I just totally did this morning. Here's the member site. I'm going to get out of preview mode and go into courses.mixatexture.com. This is the way you'll see it as a visitor. And there are all different kinds of things in here. Workshop, synth buildups. Just this morning, I made an Ableton Live pack of this exact project with the sounds, the automation recorded in here, all the scenes in the master channel where I talk about, which topics of expanding automation lanes and all these things, and everything all the way down to the bottom where you can play through the scenes, hear the music come out, watch the automation happen, go into the clip, look at each automation lane. You can see exactly how it happens and play with them and learn yourself by doing it and playing with it. This is like a mini session lesson. I don't have all the audio of the instructions recorded inside, but I think if you watch the video replay and get the live pack to play with the sounds, that'll get you definitely one step closer to recording your own automation to make transitions with your own synths. Because remember from the beginning of the workshop, the main idea is that a great track needs a climax, and the best kind of climax grows organically from out of the sounds you're listening to already, where a sound starts to get bigger and change and take over your attention. You're like, where'd that come from? And suddenly you're in this massive peak and the beat's gone and the sound is like swimming around. It's great. It's so much fun. And you can always use a white noise riser and a reverse crash cymbal kind of thing. But those are like the salt and pepper on top of the beat. The real heart of great transitions in electronic music is tweaking the synths, especially with filters and resonance and LFOs, to make them grow and take over the whole mix and bring people to another place, like out of their mind, like, whoa, add some reverb and delay and you're good to go. So that's what I want you to do in your tracks and bring them to the track feedback crew, which brings me to the point. If you would like to get this Ableton Live project, you can get a free 1-month subscription into the track feedback crew, which is our Ableton producer community on Discord. It's awesome. People are sharing mixes. We have different channels for each genre, like house, techno, trance, that kind of stuff. So you can get feedback on your tracks from people who are making the same kind of music you're making. And we have live streams where we play the tracks, review them, people hang out in the chat, give each other tips. There's remixes coming out of here. People are sharing the projects, remixing each other's music, finding collaborations. There's mix engineers, mastering engineers, record label owners, people who can literally tell you, hey, this track needs a little bit and then it's ready to get published. I'm not going to promise that you get it published, but we can help you get it ready for release and find a place to release it that fits your style. And it's just fun. It's a super supportive community of people. No trolls, no garbage. There's men, there's women. It's international. It's all over the place. It's all genres too. It could be instrumental piano. It could be hard techno or whatever. And thank you for the comments. And we want you in the track feedback crew. That's the heart of why I'm doing this. So this is a way you can support Mixatexture a little bit. You need, for this project, you need Live 11 Suite, because we're using Collision instruments. So that's, make sure you have the right system. If you got any questions, you can hit any of these buttons to start a chat or send me a message. Satisfaction. If you buy this project and it does not help you make better climaxes in your tracks, I'll give you your money back. It's not a big deal. It's not even a huge amount of money. But I just want to let you know the whole point of this is to help you have more fun making tracks, get them done, and make them sound amazing, and stretch your skills a little farther than they were before, like Ben did to me with the modulation thing today. That was great. It was a nice curveball. I totally knew what he was talking about, but I was like, I don't think I've even done that in a while, so I had to look for it. So no stress. If this is something you want to get involved in, there's a pay what you want option. You can get in $10, download it and be like, hey, I want to support. Oh man, this is really worth it. You can pay $15, or if you're in the zone of this helped me so much, you can choose to pay $25 for this project file. And basically $25 is the price of 1 month subscription in the Track Feedback crew, which you're getting when you join this product. So I wanted to make that available to you kind of as an experiment. People have been asking me, oh, you know, can you do more video tutorials or have your session lessons accompanied with video and stuff? And I thought, hey, yeah, do a video tutorial, make the live pack available. What you're gonna get is this exact project. Especially the fun part is all this stuff on the sideline right here. It tells you what we did in the workshop so you can remember, oh, pan your layers left and right. We're gonna look at adjusting all these envelopes. And while you're doing that, you can take the clip, shift tab, envelope zone. The modulation is not gonna be in there. Only show adjusted parameters, select them, and start reverse engineering it, right? You look at that automation lane, play the clip, watch what happens in the synth, listen to what happens, and identify how does it make it sound cool? How can I do that in my music? And by going through these and just going around finding your way through it, you'll get better at doing it. You'll get more comfortable with it. You'll get more familiar with it. So when you do it in your music, it's as intuitive as turning on your windshield wipers in your car. Oh, Hans, thank you. So video live, replay plus downloadable project file seems like a great combo. Hey, thanks a lot. I'm so glad you said that. That's really handy because this is going to be the replay. So that again, that's courses.mixitexture.com, and it's down at the bottom because it's brand new. The workshop is called Synth Buildups. You click the little green button, and the side window pops open. So thank you for your support, everybody. Thank you so much for hanging out and watching this. This is my first new one in the series of weekly workshops. There have been times when I did weekly workshops all the time, or not all the time. And I love doing it. I like hanging out on video, chatting with people, playing with live, showing you what I'm doing, and sharing my creative process. So I think we're gonna keep doing this and add it in. So we have track feedback, weekly workshops, maybe even some guest workshops where I show music from other people. Look, there's two of me. Oh, and then the text fields of live in a great way. Yeah, that's the teacher stuff where I actually want you to learn this stuff and use it. So I try to make it an organized system of knowledge. Because honestly, in the world we live in right now, knowledge is not the problem. Like, we don't have a problem of a lack of information. The problem is there's too much information. It's not organized. You're watching a video, people talk for 20 years and don't get to the point, and you don't know if the video even has the thing that you want in there. So if I can make this compact and short and save you time and give you the skills right away to play with inside live, that's a win-win for everybody. I get to make a cool lesson, you get to do a cool lesson, and we all come together for track feedback to share our music and talk about how good it feels. So that's it for me. We are right on 1 hour. Thanks so much for watching. If you have any questions, send me a message, steve@mixitexture.com. You can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on WhatsApp, and the buttons are right there inside the Mixitexture member site, courses.mixitexture.com. And I'll see you tomorrow for track feedback in 23 hours.